Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this American Beekeeping Federation webinar. I'm really excited about this because we'll be presenting the winners of the Practical Bee Award. And so this Practical Bee Award, we've had it for, Debbie, how quick, for maybe about 10 years or so. We've had a lot of fantastic ideas. And so if you're not familiar with the Practical Bee Award, it's a idea, invention, some kind of research project that a beekeeper like you develops. And as part of this award, American Beekeeper Federation gives you $2,000 and registration to the American Beekeeping Federation. So really for this webinar, we'll be having 2024 winner and the 2025 winner. And so I think Debbie's on here. Maybe put her back on stage. And so,
Sorry.
No worries. Do you want to talk about American Beekeeping Federation a little bit, talk about the Galveston conference, and just kind of gear people up for, going for this award and hopefully showing up for Galveston?
Yeah, that'd be great. We have been around for about 85 years. Our conference this year, it's done every year, and this conference is in Galveston, Moody Gardens. It's January 12th through the 16th. We will be presenting the award there. And you, as I think Garrett said, you do get free registration. So it's kind of cool that you guys apply for it. But Garrett's been running it for several years now. We've been able to come up with some really good things and great things that you guys are going to hear about. So if you want to know anything more about our conference, our prices, anything, you can go to our website, abfnet.org, and there's information about who we are, what we are, and what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also part of this award, this is funded by the Foundation for the Preservation of Honeybees. I know Gene's not there, but I'm a foundation member of that. And we do a lot of really great things. We do the 4-H essay contest. We help fund parts of ABF like the Queen program and Kids and Bees. We do a lot of really great work overall. And so the Bee Practical Awards is kind of one aspect of it. But if you want to learn more about the honeybee preservation, health preservation, we have a website, and that should all be on the American Beekeeping Federation website. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Debbie, before we jump into it?
You did great. You did very. We do scholarships. We do $4,000 or $5,000 scholarships, and we do the equipment grant for $10,000 every year.
Perfect. And so if you go to the website, let me share the screen. We do have more information about the Bee Practical Award. This needs to be updated. So I think the due date is going to be August 1st or so. But really the writing and everything on here, the requirements for everything is practically the same. We try to make it as simple as possible. So if you have an idea, invention, or some kind of research experiment that you want to do as a beekeeper, you simply just shoot me an email with your idea, with some pictures, if you developed it already, and we'll start reviewing it as soon as possible. Okay, so first up, we have Aaron and Dan, who were the 2025 winners. And so what I'm going to do is kind of have them introduce themselves, and then I'll have Aaron kind of jump into his project.
All right, I can go first. My name is Aaron Weber. I'm a beekeeper down in Zone 9A in North Central Florida, and caught my first swarm of bees in 2023 and just kind of got addicted to them, and took a fresh look, I guess, at the hobby, and the rest is history. I caught my first swarm, and now I'm up to about 50 or 60 hives, depending on the state of everything, which ones swarmed and which ones are thriving. So, yep.
Cool, that's great. Hey, I'm Dan Long. I'm the founder of Easy Peasy Beekeeping Equipment. I'm a beekeeper and live in Athens, Georgia, and I'm really looking forward to listening to Aaron's presentation tonight, and I want to thank the American Beekeeping Federation for putting on the Bee Practical Award and this webinar. Thanks a lot, Garrett.
Okay, looks like I'm up. I too want to thank the ABF and Garrett for selecting us, and thank Dan for entertaining a crazy idea like this that worked out really well for me and a lot of other folks. But just what you see on the screen is the splash slide. It's a picture of the Swarm Cell Harvester Kit. And I originally reached out to Dan quite a while ago. I think in the presentation I've got it documented, but I was initially stuffing swarm cells into JZBZ queen cell protectors, and that kind of worked out well. But if there was any royal jelly on the top of the swarm cell, the bees would find it and chew it out and chew the pupa too. So I basically just, when I saw a hive full of swarm cells, I just saw like nothing but opportunity and to make splits basically. And so I wanted an easy way to make splits and an easy way to bank bees. So I reached out to Dan. But what you see in the picture is a mock-up of a swarm cell and the swarm cage we invented and a swarm cell banking holder. So this is a picture of Dan. This presentation was originally for my local bee club, and so they had never seen Dan before. And this is Dan, I think up at Nabi. I'm not sure, but he's got a full range of all of his products. And I reached out to Easy Peasy just because I was sort of in awe of like the innovation of everything, and wanted to see if we could adapt a swarm cell holder to sort of fit in with his existing hardware. So this was just a reiteration for the Bee Club to point out that Dan and I won the ABF Practical Bee Practical Award for the kit. And in the picture in the lower right, it's kind of interesting. I wanted to make sure it was easy to cut out swarm cells. Let me fix this real quick. Oh no. Well, it just splashed back. We might have to improvise here, folks. Okay.
I need to do like a full share.
Yeah, it just went out of full share mode. We're having technical difficulties, but I can't get back into full screen.
Can you do view?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Do we have time to restart it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Let me see.
Well, while he gets that all figured out, I think also on our website we do have the past winners too. So
Okay.
hope you got it figured out. Cool.
Yeah, we got it figured out. So anyway, like I was saying, in the lower right-hand corner, you can see the swarm cell cage that we designed, and I just wanted to make it easy. So I tried it with like the least dexterous glove possible. I put on a leather glove and slipped a food safe glove over it just to see if I could cut out a swarm cell and place it in the cage, and it did work. So anybody with any type of protection can do this. And so our swarm season here, I'm in Micanopy, Florida, Zone 9A. This is from February 2025, and we kick off kind of early. And so when you go through your hives and inspect, about every week, like the extension folks recommend, you see, just it's pretty average 4 peanut-sized swarm cells per frame. And I was, swapping frames to make splits and removing cells. And I wanted to use all 4 cells, basically. So my early method was to try the JCBZ cell protectors, like I said, and you can kind of see there I was stuffing swarm cells into JCBZ cell protectors, which they don't fit well because swarm cells were so big, and the JZBZs are designed to be used with the cups. But that's just a JZBZ shipping cage, and I was placing that right above the brood nest with sort of an empty box on top, and it did work. Like I hatched out 1 or 2, so I knew the concept could work. And then I tried it. Well, this is just an illustration of the cell protector and how it's supposed to be used with the cell cup, but I kind of improvised something like this. I found a swarm cell that was completely intact, built off the foundation with no royal jelly exposed, stuck it in a cell protector like this, and placed it in the hive in the brood nest, and it hatched out. The success rate wasn't great. I didn't get a, like 1 or 2 in 10, but it worked. So it's kind of like a proof of concept. But that just shows the intended use of those JZBZ cell protectors to be used with the grafting cups. So our swarm season here, this is courtesy of Chuck Cook. If you guys, he's a YouTuber. He does Chuck's Honeybees up in Jacksonville. So he's one zone removed from me, but this shows our swarm season by week. And so it just shows the weeks at the bottom, week 7, week 8, but I've kind of, labeled the months February, March, April. So it really peaks for us in March, and sort of continues at a low level throughout the year, through the dearth in the summer, and then we get sort of a second swarm season when the fall flow hits around September, October. And so I wanted to be able to use these really sweet banking cages that Dan designed, and those sort of snap on the end of the JZBZ grafting cups. And I reached out to Dan and asked him if we could fit a JZBZ cell protector in one of these, or somehow fit a swarm cell in one of these. And I was not expecting what he came up with, which was the Easy Peasy swarm cell cage with a clamshell design. But I emailed Dan, I guess this is from March 4th, 2025. So that kind of gives you a timeline of sort of how quick all this happened. But the gist of the email was, we get so many cap swarm cells this time of year, I can't use them all. And that's just because like the intensity of the swarm season. And we had good rainfall last year. So there was a lot of nectar, and there was just swarms everywhere. And I would be inspecting a hive and open it up, and there would be, it's full of queen cells. Some of them were emerging. Some of the worker bees were holding queens in their cells. And I mean, it was just like a box of opportunity for me to make splits. I was trying to, capture them all. It became overwhelming, actually. So I reached out to Dan, and he asked me to show him a proof of concept of how I would cut the cells off foundation. And so I shot a video with this frame, and you can see the swarm cell in the lower right corner. And that's kind of an ideal swarm cell to cut off. It's not attached to the foundation, and it's built a little bit off it. So you get you don't need a fully intact swarm cell, but you do get a fully intact swarm cell, and it's a nice size one. And so that's the this is a photo of the swarm cell cage we invented. And so the first design that Dan came up with was a clamshell design that was symmetrical and sort of had the little V-shaped holder in there on both sides. And I tried those, and they worked great. The double-sided version sort of had a little tendency to smush the cell if you didn't get it placed in right, but that's what gave rise to the single-sided one. And then also in this picture, you'll notice the X-Acto knife I use. And if you watch people cutting out swarm cells on YouTube videos, they'll use all kind of stuff like kitchen knives, butter knives, hive tool, and it just sort of mangles the swarm cell. But if you do it sort of like semi-surgically with that, rectangle blade, you can cut clean around the swarm cell and also cut under it and get a nice intact swarm cell. And you can see a little royal jelly at the bottom where they built that swarm off the original cell. And you can seal, if the backside of your cell is open, it'll seal perfectly against the backside of the Easy Peasy swarm cell cage. Even though you don't need to, you can work fine with open swarm cells. So this is a banking cage. And so what my plan was to cut out, all these 15 to 20 swarm cells, and then stick them in the swarm cell cage, and then use this banking rack that Dan has to place the, cut swarm cells into a, right in the middle of a brood nest and emerge them. And so that's what I tried, and it worked. And I had pretty good success with it. With the banking cage system, you get about early in the season when there's less pest pressure in the hive from wax moths, I was getting, up to like 80%. Sometimes later in the season, if you get a lot of wax moth larvae crawling around inside the hive, they'll actually punch through. They'll get inside the banking cages and punch through the queen cell. And that's terribly disappointing when you have, you cut out 15 cells and you're expecting to, pull your banking cage out and find like 15 queens, and then you get one because they've been bored through by wax moth larvae. But this is a picture of the incubator Dan has. And so this year he sent me the incubator, and that thing is like an ATM machine for queens. You just, if you put in 10 cut queen cells, and it kind of doesn't matter what condition. Some of them can be, open on the back or have exposure oil jelly, or, open then closed. You can reform the wax a little bit and close them up. It's like 80 or 90% success rate, like over and over again with this thing. And the convenience of it's great because you don't have to suit up, to check your, check what kind of condition your swarm cells are in. You can just, keep it inside, pop the lid every morning, and just see if any queens have emerged. So this thing is like made a problem of abundance even worse. I mean, it's fantastic. It is a queen making machine right here. So I've been totally pleased with it. Works great with the system. So I'm just going to take you through some of the swarm cell cage development, kind of like what I alluded to earlier. And so this shows the first version, and that has an emerged swarm cell in it. And that's what it would look like, once your queen emerges, and she's got a little space to crawl around in there. So this version has the single wedge inside. It was easy to use, and you'll notice at the bottom it's got sort of like a peg and hole latch system, and what's called Dan says is a live hinge at the top. So we started out with this. It worked great. Did the proof of concept, and Dan just kept sending me sort of different incremental improvements, and I would try them. And really, once the single wedge design was developed, it didn't change from that. It worked well. The one in the middle that's got the wedge sort of high was one that he sent me, and one of the queens got trapped in between the wedge and the corners. That was sort of a issue I noticed with it. But the latest version's to the right, and you can see, maybe not so great from the picture, but the latch at the bottom was redesigned, and wedge was a little wider and lower. But it's not so critical. They all really worked, and they all emerged out the queens. The design changes were just better latch for durability and some convenience for the beekeeper and that kind of thing. But we debuted it. It was this is a cool story. This is at UF-IFAS Bee College at the University of Florida, and that's actually the ABF honeybee queen from 2025. And so I asked Dan. I said, "Hey, we're going to this." We were presenting a pollinator initiative, and I said, I'd like to have something to attract beekeepers. So can I show some of your easy peasy stuff? And it was super popular. Like, everybody was very interested in coming up and seeing it. And so much so, he, I think on the first or second day of the bee college, he put the swarm cell cages live on his website for $2 each, and people were buying them. I mean, they kept asking me if they were for sale. I was like, no, they're not for sale. We're just, showing you some prototypes and see what people think. So it made a nice splash there, and it was like really neat to, have all the people and interest be shown. So while I was at Bee College, I wanted an easy way to transfer the emerged queens into a banking cell. And so you can see a banking cell to the right, and the queens are, in the outdoors, they're super flighty, like the virgin queens, and I was having a bunch of them like fly away. So what I was doing was I would crack the queen cell, and sort of first thing the queens want to do is sip up some nectar. So I'd have a frame of open honey. Queen would go on that, sip up some nectar. I'd grab her in a queen clip and then transfer her in a queen cup, because I had the heavy leather gloves on and all that. Couldn't grab queens. So I wanted an easy way a touch-free way to get queens from swarm cell cage to the banking cage. And so I sketched some stuff up at Bee College and sent it to Dan, and he came back with this like fantastic parabolic shaped adapter that you basically just take the swarm cell cage, and you see those two triangles inside the adapter, and it basically pops open the swarm cell cage. The queen can't get out, and then the circle end of it fits onto the banking cage. So like that. But anyway, that's just the latest prototype, and you can kind of see from the previous picture that we had to sort of modify the bottom to make some wedges. Dan modified the bottom to make some wedges, but it allows it to all fit into sort of like one system that works with his existing banking cages. And so I wish I could demonstrate this live because it's so cool, but you basically just take that swarm cell cage and press it into that parabolic adapter, and it opens it. And if your queen's walking around in there, you can tap her to get her into the banking cage, or sort of, a lot of times they want to walk up, so you can turn it upside down and she'll walk right into there. So it's a closed system to transfer her into the banking cage. Indoors, they're not so flighty. I just open the banking cage, grab her with my fingers, and put her in. But outdoors, it's, for some reason, it's different. And so this is a picture of what the queens look like, once you have the emerged queens into the banking rack. And this is designed to snap into a medium frame, and then you can stick 2 of these 10-cage medium racks into a standard empty medium frame, and then just drop that into your brood nest. Or I actually found that it's convenient and works pretty well if you just stick it in a queenless hive right on top of the middle of the brood nest, and the nurse bees will come up and take care of the queens, and then you don't have to disturb the brood nest to remove a queen cell every time you need one. So the purpose of the banking rack is it buys you time. Like, if you have, like I said before, pop open a strong hive and it's got 15 or 20 queen cells in there, I can't find enough brood in my apiary to make 15 or 20 splits. So, and if I had the brood, I couldn't do it, before the sun went down. So this just allows you to get those queens emerged, put them in a banking cell, and you can leave them in here for 4 or 5 days once they're emerged, and then they need to be, put into they really need to be in a nuke and ready to mate, after about 5 days. But you can see the swarm cell cages on the left, banking cages on the right, and that's a deep frame with a deep version of the banking rack. So that holds 40, so you can bank a lot of queens in this thing. And then tips for success. IFAS has a little booklet, and this is a screenshot out of the booklet that just shows the stages of queen development. And if you're, you can sort of see, just to take you through the, I guess, basic queen biology, but they're an egg for 3 days, and then day 4 through 8ish, 9ish, really 9 is when they're in the larval stage, and then in 8 to 9, the cell's capped, and they're enter the pupal stage, and they're the queens supposedly are very fragile between days like 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So if you're going to use this product in a and bank and emerge the queens in your hive. So just to be clear, if you're emerging in your hive and not in the incubator, it's best to sort of go day 12 or 13 or later, really day 13 or later. That way they're in there for 3 days. At day 13, they're pretty robust, and you'll have good success rate. If they're in there, you pull a day 8 queen cell, they've got to be in there for 8 days. That just gives them, if you have a lot of wax moth larvae, that just gives wax moths a longer time period to punch through the cell and sort of damage or destroy your queen. So if you're banking in the hive, it's best to go with day 13 or later. And what you can do is just, if you have a lot of queen cells, you can either look at an open cell, and it's pretty easy to stage them, whether they're day 5, 6, or 7. And if you have a closed queen cell, you can just use that little chisel blade and slit one open, and it's super easy to tell what day they're at. I mean, each day has very distinct features. So, you slit one open, you're going to be within 3 days of that. If it looks like a day 13, it's either going to be 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15, depending on how long it was, what stage of egg development it was in. So just as the bottom line is, if you're going to bank in the if you're going to emerge them in the hive, try and go with one that's older, like day 13, rather than one that's like a day 8. If you're going to use the incubator, really, to my amazement, any day works, like as long as it's capped. So day 8 on up to 15 is fantastic. That thing has great success rate, like 90%. And just be gentle as you're cutting them out. Don't drop them, and keep them oriented just like they were in the hive, and you don't want to damage that pupa. So another tip for success is, as you're going through your hive, and you have swarm cells, don't shake the frames, because if you shake the frames and they're in that larval stage before when they're on the royal jelly, you can actually dislodge them from the royal jelly, and that's people see these and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a big queen cell, and in reality, it's a dead queen cell, because what's happened is the larvae has come off that royal jelly and fallen off, and the bees have built that cell longer to try and just patch things up. But these will not emerge, so you just want to go with a normal looking queen cell, like the one kind of on the left and up a little bit is a nice one to cut off, or even the one on the left in the lower corner. And so use a brush. In this one, use a brush when you're to remove the bees. Use a brush, and it's nice and gentle and won't dislodge the larvae. And so anyway, at the end of the day, began 2025, I think, with like 13 colonies, and by the end of 2025, this is July, really before the end of the season, I had 35 colonies, and I didn't buy a single queen. I mean, all these were made with the. This was before I got the incubator, so all these were just made with the easy peasy swarm cell cage, and then I was emerging queens in the hive themselves. So it worked really well. I had more queens than I knew what to do with. I didn't buy any queens. I got access to queens really early, because if you try and buy a queen in Florida, the commercial beekeepers they've locked them all up in like February. So you have to just wait until they've got their supply. But as long as you have drones, you can make good mated queens in February in Florida. And that's just another shot of, the first shot was half the nuke yard. That's another shot of the other half the nucleus yard. And I sold, wound up selling 24 nukes last year, my second year beekeeping, and I didn't buy a single queen. So that's the kit that Dan sells, and you can get it at easypeasy.buzz. That's the swarm cell harvester kit, and it comes with a. People always ask what the syringe is for at the top left, and that's just to add a little honey or water to those swarm cell cages, so that when the queen emerges, she's got some access to water or honey. If she emerges at night, you can't get to her, and so that's the kit, and that's it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? In the meantime, Dan, if you want to get your presentation ready, we have you go on right afterwards. Okay, sound is cut out. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I want to say what fun it was working with Aaron. I love collaboration, and he was like the perfect partner for developing the product. He would say, "Hey, can you give me a couple of millimeters this way? And what about that?" And the neat thing about doing 3D printing work is that I could make those changes quickly, print overnight, and ship to him the next day. And he was awesome. He was within 2 or 3 days, he was testing out and evaluating the new prototype each time. It was great. I love collaboration.
It was a lot of fun. It was fast too. I mean, the speed at which you can go from like thought to an actual product is, I think there was like 5 different prototypes in there within a period of less than a few months. It was amazing. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So get an idea, come to Dan, and he'll make it for you.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. He actually has a section on his webpage where you can email him, and he's super responsive with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, can you all see this? This is the cage and adapter setup. So this is the Easy Peasy Queen cage, the original. Here's that adapter with the little wedges here, and just because Aaron was saying he couldn't demo it. And here is the swarm cell cage. We'll close it up. And once your virgin has emerged and you're ready to transfer her over, you just use the little wedges there that have the inverse of the wedge on the cage. So I'm not used to doing this on there.
That's it.
It pops it open and closes over, so there's no way for the queen to escape out the exit here. The only direction she can go is either staying in there or back. And as Aaron said, generally if you tip up and go for that, then she'll crawl up. Eventually she'll crawl up, or you can tap her down a little bit.
That thing is super cool and easy. Very easy to use.
It's been very popular.
And it's available on your site.
Oh yeah, the full kit is available. Component parts are available. Aaron actually handpicked all of the different elements for the full kit. the flat-bladed, chisel-bladed utility knife, the banker. We've got a tray in there. We've got what I call the grafting stand that is handy as like a third hand when you're in the field harvesting the cells. It holds the frame up for you.
Yeah, I did a lot of development work just throughout the whole season last year, just to find out what was easy and what worked. And, so yeah, that's the kit.
So Ski had a question: is the max time you can bank queens in rack 4 to 5 days?
Well, you can bank queens for weeks and weeks, but you don't want to bank virgins for too long.
Yeah, when I was talking, I was speaking about virgin queens because they need, once they emerge, it's like five days to a week for them to mature, and then they need to get mated. And if they don't go out on a mating flight, I've just heard that, they can sort of be permanently affected by that. So I try and do it within a 5-day period, and that's worked. I haven't had a lot of queens being superseded. So, they go out, they mate, they come back. If they didn't mate well, they would get superseded. So, yeah.
The longest I've held virgins is 8 days, and that was specifically for instrumental insemination by somebody at a presentation. But Kent Williams always holds his virgin 7 days. That's his procedure. It's like, I want to put them in, and the next day I want them to go out and fly.
Nice.
Interesting. Okay.
And I banked mated queens in the incubator for a few days. So if you just have mated queens somehow and you need to keep them and you can't get them into a hive, put them with some attendants, and 3 days they seem to do okay. After about that, the attendants start dying. You do have to feed them a little bit of honey, and I feed them. I'm not an expert on this, but I feed them a little bit of honey and a little bit of water every day just to make sure everybody's got something to eat.
So Brian, can you tell us again which X-Acto knife you prefer to use?
It's a flat chisel blade, right?
Yeah, it is. It's either like number 57 or number 17. Each one has a number, but it's not a particular knife. It's a particular blade, but you just want the wide rectangular blade, and
that ships
wide.
That ships with the kit.
Ships with the kit. Yep, and that one does a great job. It nice thing about it is you can kind of use it as kind of like a spatula to once you have the perimeter of the queen cell cut at the top, you sort of make vertical cuts, sort of dissect around the queen cell, and then you can get up under it and sort of cut the spine of the queen cell off the foundation. And another point to note is that if there's any brood adjacent to the queen cell, you kind of want to sort of flick the larvae or pupae. Well, I guess it'd be pupae if it's cat brood. Flick it away because it'll rot in the banking cage. So, if you just want to get a nice clean queen cell, you can sort of use the edge of your X-Acto knife to sort of flick those pupae out of the brood cells that are connected to the queen cell, and that way you just get nothing but a queen cell with empty attached brood cells, so that, it won't rot while it incubates.
Okay, Dan, do you want to share yours? Oh, actually, one more question. Anthony, is there any way to mark the queen while you are doing the transfer or after?
Well, that's a trick, isn't it? The developing something that does all of those and marking as well. And I haven't gotten there yet, but it is. I'm always thinking, and I'm always interested in new ideas, and I would love to try to figure that one out.
I don't mark my queens till they come back mated, so I would let them go out and get mated and know they're laying, and then go to the trouble to stick a mark on them. And I use those. People call them the queen killers. I use those. They're sort of like it's a tube with a sponge on the plunger and a grate at the top, and that's an easy way for folks if you're not used to holding a queen, just to be gentle and get a dot on her. So.
Okay, great. Well, Dan, do you want to share your screen?
Okay, this is my first time in StreamYard, so I'm looking. There we go. Share screen, and yeah, easiest with 2 monitors. Yeah, I don't have a second monitor set up here, but I'm going to share screen.
And once you
And
figure out, put it in the stage.
I'm going to share entire screen, right? That's the plan.
Yeah, I think that makes most sense.
All right, I've selected it. There we go.
There you go.
And you see my PowerPoint workspace?
Yep. Do you want to do the presenter view? Yep. There you
Nice. Looks
All
good.
right. Great. All right. Well, this is a fairly lengthy presentation, so I'm going to zip on through it. And anybody who has questions in the end, please feel free to ask. Quick overview: I'm a Georgia master beekeeper. I keep bees in Athens, Georgia. And next week, I'll be hauling a bunch of bees on a trailer up to the mountains for sourwood honey. I love sourwood honey. I produce nukes and queens and have been for some time now. And I'm a bit of a tinkerer, as you probably figured out by now. I am a big fan of observation hives. This was an installation I did for a Dunwoody Nature Center north of Atlanta. And what's cool is it's an outdoor enclosure, and the enclosure was made by one of the first female Eagle Scouts in Georgia. And observation hives are a blast. It's a lot of fun. I fiddle around with all kinds of different things at different seasons. This is a harvesting technique that, you know how waiting for the screen at the bottom of the extractor is always a hassle? Well, that is a huge screen and a funnel that goes right into the bucket. It works just about as fast as a 20-frame extractor. And I make nuke boxes. I fashion things out of wood, and I was making ladders in these little tiny feeder stations to go in my nuke box, my mating nukes. And I met a guy by the name of Ryan Forsman who does 3D printing, and he 3D printed these ladders for me. And he is on Etsy, and he's got some of his own design work there. That's pretty cool stuff. He convinced me that I needed to get a 3D printer myself. And that's my son Ezra years ago with our first 3D printer. And as you see on the side, the picture on the right, it is a bit of a learning curve. I made a lot of messes in the process, but I love tinkering, and I kept at it. And there are lots and lots of designs. Mostly I was doing designs that I downloaded for free off of places like Thingiverse. There are places where you can get files pretty cheap or free. And this is a neat little design here. This is a model teaching hive, and I modified the queen excluder to turn it into a cloak board part of the model. So I learned to do design work, and this was the first thing I tried, which was a bit of a failure. There was a queen excluder to sit over a mite checking bin that you would shake the bees into this, and then that way you wouldn't have to fear losing your queen into the alcohol wash. And I make a lot of practical things. This is a little thing I made for my wife on the left that is a little bin for the inside door. There's so much available online for 3D printers, and so much that you can design yourself. It's really limitless. A rack for my swarm pole. Then it was a capturing device for corralling a queen into a 3-hole cage, and it sort of works. It's not great. It sort of works. And then I realized, hey, wait a minute, maybe this could be the solution that I've been looking for the problem of working. I mean, I love working with JZBZ cell cups. They're the best. And all the other beekeepers that I was seeing online were having the same issues with roller cages. They work sort of much of the time, but you know, duct tape and wax and propolis and all the different things you can use to hold them on, sometimes you would lose queens. They'd pop out, or you know, it wasn't just right. So I started the design process. At first it looked a lot like a roller cage, and the idea behind it was that it would hold the rim of the JZBZ cell cup. And I went through a lot of prototypes. You know, Aaron and I were talking about 5-6 prototypes in a couple of months. I did probably 15 prototypes in the process of a week, trying to get it just right. And this was a working design. It was okay, but it was too wide to fit on the cell bar. I got a lot of help from folks, a lot of advice from people at Queen Breeders Forum on Facebook. They were really, really very supportive and had a lot of great ideas. This is what the design space looks like. And I don't have any fancy software for this. This is actually called Tinkercad, which is a little online program used by kids all over the country. But it works. I was able to develop the cage there, and all of my designs are done on Tinkercad. And this was 2 years ago, prototyping and early release product. And as you can see, the print job is still just a little sloppy. I did upgrade all of my printers about 1.5 years ago to some really nice high-speed printers that are much more accurate and faster. The cage features little troughs at the bottom. Aaron mentioned that you can use the syringe to put a drop of honey in. And what's nice about that is that you're not just dropping the honey on the bottom of the cage. It's corralled in there so that the queen's not going to smear herself in it. And this is what they look like in an incubator. And this is what they look like in a Hovabator 1588. You can hold 6 of the trays for 180 cages. And then I realized that not only is the cage good for protecting the virgin on emergence and evaluating the queen, but it can also, the same cage can be used for introduction. So I developed a candy cap to go with. And then various other products. Here's this is the grafting stand I mentioned. It works great in the field with the swarm cell technique as well. Just to hold that frame in place while you're working. It's like a third hand. Here it is in use for grafting. Originally, this presentation is partly a business talk I gave at Florida State Conference last year. Originally, when I got this fired up, I was shipping on Pirate Ship. And if you do start up your own small business, or if you ship your honey across country, I highly recommend the ease of use and pricing at Pirate Ship. Eventually, I realized that it was going to be big enough that I ended up on a Shopify platform. And I did all the businessy stuff, got my license, Easy Peasy LLC. And Easy Peasy is now going to be a trademark name as well. This is what the shop used to look like. And if you look, there's a little short video there going. You can see how the printers are moving very slowly. It took forever to make product on this. It was great at first, but I had too many printers and they were fussy and they weren't very accurate. I'm really glad I upgraded. Yeah, my note there, buy a cheap printer, get a cheap print. It's true. I very quickly realized that these weren't going to keep up with the need. So I upgraded to Bamboo Lab printers, and that shows 4 of them. I now have 8 of them. And except for tonight, they run pretty much 24/7. Another cool thing happened. I was approached by Broadsbee in the UK and Full Moon Beekeeping in Australia. And they are each now full partners in production because I would get a little bit of interest in shipping to Australia and to UK and Europe, but the shipping cost was as much as the product cost. And so this collaboration again with John and Mahundan has been really terrific. They have my files. They run the same printers, the same filament, and they ship within Australia and New Zealand, and I guess it's called Oceania, and in Broadsbee case in the UK and Europe. So they're doing a great job over there. I've collaborated a little bit. This was a special run for Hives for Heroes. It was a promotion where I didn't charge any more for the kits, but they got a $22 for each kit sold. And that was the kit until recently. I think you might have noticed when I shared the adapter setup, I've shifted over to clear plastic for anything that the queen is going to be inside of. It makes it a lot easier to see. But this is what the regular kit looks like. It's fairly complete. All the description and all are right on the line on the website. This was an interesting one, a queen cager that was by request. I have a beekeeping friend who has essential tremor, and she wanted to cage queens, but her hand was a little too shaky to safely grab a queen and plunk her in. She wasn't afraid. She just was afraid of her own skill. She wasn't afraid to pick up the queen, but her hands were a little shaky. So it's like basically like a plunger type device that corrals the queen and a few attendants. I had another beekeeper friend who said, well, I really want to work with wax cell cups. I don't want to use plastic cell cups. And so how can I do that and work with your cages? And I said, all right, well, I'll make this wax plug for it. So this functions actually in the queen cell harvester cage as a regular cap, but you can mount a wax queen cell cup onto that like this. And that's the mold in the background. And then the queen cell cups, and that way they fit safely in the cage for emerging virgins in the cage. The banker was also by request. That's been very popular. You can fit. It's sold by a pair, and it comes in a medium and a deep. You can fit 2 rows with the deep, so it's not as efficient with the medium, but a lot of people work with the mediums, at least in their banking. There's the medium. And of course, the queen cell harvester cage. That was a picture from Aaron. And the adapter. And the full kit. And the incubator, again, a product that was requested and has been extraordinarily popular. And if anybody's who's on that waiting list, I am hoping controllers will be here any day now. I have 50 incubators printed and assembled, and all I need to do is install the controllers. As soon as they get here, I'll be dedicated to installing them and getting them out to you. Here they are being assembled. The controller unit is that piece on the left there. That's what I've been waiting for. It's been on back order for a couple of months now. There's the assembly process. This is a neat little invention. Garrett, do we have time still? Am I doing all right? I can't hear anything. This is called the day tripper, and it's basically a one-way valve to corral your foragers when they return from foraging, so that you can move your bees in the daytime. Also on the website. It's not queen rearing related, but it's a nice tool I like. Oh, there it is. That's it in use. Gives you an idea. Pack up your bees during the day. You don't have to wait until night. Make an escape. I do work with some other businesses. This is for the beetle gel. It's for cleaning the goop and dead beetles out of the bottoms of the traps. I made a little something for Better Bee. They wanted a stamp for their sugar bricks. Some development does not work. This was a pushing cage with a candy plug hole for it, and the nature of 3D printing made it a little bit challenging. The tines aren't structurally strong in the vertical. So I'm currently, it's been delayed for some time now, but I'm currently working on a version where they're printed laterally and then folded up into place and lock into place vertically, so that you have a pushing cage with a queen plug already set, so your queen can release in a few days. I'm a big fan of artificial brood break. The Italians have been doing it for a long time. I do an artificial brood break and oxalic treatment every summer in every hive I can get to. And so I developed a brood breaker cage as well. And it works the same as any of the other ones. It's got queen excluder size openings on front and back. You cage the queen for 2 weeks. You release her, and 1 week later you hit hard with oxalic acid. I just, as a miscellaneous add-on, I added a hole that you could put the prong of a JZBZ queen cell cup onto if you wanted to emerge a cell into there. Just, again, that was by request. I'm working on developing some further modifications of it, but I'm personally happy with the design as it exists now. But I may begin to produce this version of it at some point. I make a couple other gizmos. This was for filling a small bottle filling station for bottling honey, just something to keep the caps organized. That was the early version. This is the current working version of it. It's got a nice little dispenser. I make some tchotchkes as well. This is that Varroa mite model that everybody sees and loves. Another model. Beekeeper 13. That's been a lot of fun developing that one. And I do trade shows. That was on the left is the Georgia State Show. On the right was the second year at the Knobby Expo. I made the queen cell model just for my own demonstration purposes for trade show booth, but it's been really popular. People buy those and use them for teaching. And then some things are just for the fun of it. Something to draw the eye at a trade show. That's Cayman Fred, Mr. Ed, and Bob Binney. And this is what the shop looks like today. This is actually right behind me is the box rack, and over to the right is the finished product line, and then there's the shipping station. This is where I'm sitting right now, and then to the left of that are the printers. Recent product development. This is the 50 pin brood kill test for hygienic testing. I collaborated with James Lee at the Northern Queen Initiative to develop this product, and that's been very popular as well. So I guess that is, I'll run through, that's it. And stop sharing.
Perfect. I guess, is there any questions for Dan? I think the main one is, Anthony, is there any concern on putting microplastics into the hive with all these plastic components? And then he also had another question, are there sources for getting plastic components? Yeah. So any response to that?
Well, there's always a concern when using plastics. I have actually said, if I could make these out of wood and ceramic and make them as effective as they are, I certainly would do that. We use a lot of plastics in the queen cell cups, and I think 3 million a year are produced in those queen cell cups, and they're fine. I haven't had anybody experience issues specifically related to anything that they could say was a plastic contamination. We use plastic foundations, plastic queen excluders in some cases. Queen cages are all almost, the JZBZ cages are all plastic. I don't know of any significant issues. I do know in the manufacturing process, I'm careful about microplastics in the air. I have good filtration on my printers. And making and printing any components that could be used in making and printing your products to minimize printing everything. Well, since most of it is my own design work, I would have to say no for that. Now, I do supplement with other products to make the full kit. I'm a JZBZ vendor. I use their cell bars and their cell cups in my kits. Grafting tools, the syringes and all that, those are not printed.
Well, I guess maybe you invest into one of those metal printing, like aluminum or metal printing, right?
I would love to. I love the design work. It's really cool spinning up a business and spinning up a website and having happy customers in 15 countries around the world. But really, the great joy for me is the design work.
Well, I have some ideas for you, but we can read that kind of offline. Well, perfect.
Cool.
Well, Aaron and Dan, so Yeah, I really appreciate you guys, joining today and talking about your presentation. We'll have everything, on YouTube for people to watch afterwards. Are you guys planning on coming to Galveston this winter or next January?
Possibly, yeah. Been thinking about it. Got
Awesome.
Florida State Beekeepers Conference in my sights first. But yeah,
I'll have to look at the dates. I'd love to go.
It's the 17th. Maybe I'll put Debbie on. I know it's like MLK weekend.
It's actually starts on Tuesday, January 12th, and ends on Saturday, the 16th.
16th. Okay.
I might be able to do that.
Yes, it is not the same week.
that's not yet. The
Well,
conference
if you
last
come, you
year
can come
was
see my lab.
fantastic.
You can come see things we're doing at Texas A&M. So they're better place to be than Texas.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm gonna put Frank on. Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me all right?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan and Aaron. I'm gonna take you guys off. If there's anything else to add, I can put you back on to the screen.
All right.
Okay. All right, Frank. Do you want to share your screen and we can get started?
Yes, I can do
Okay,
that.
perfect. Yeah, so while Frank does that, so he was our 2024 winner. He's done a lot of other fantastic work. I know he did present at ABF a few years ago, right?
Yes, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yep.
You ready for me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking for your presentation, but I'm not seeing it.
Can you see me? You can't see it on the screen?
No, are you sharing it to present?
Oh, maybe not. Let me go back there.
If you go to present and then share your screen.
Okay.
And then as for Jim's question, yes, it'll be on YouTube. Let me if you go to at Tamu Bees, it also posts on the ABF Facebook page, at least temporarily. But we link it to the ABF YouTube page too.
That's present.
Yeah, okay. So I just clicked on present.
There's your screen. Right above
Okay.
that. Mhm. Nope,
Okay.
you hit the wrong one.
Oh, okay.
Go back.
Let's see if I. How's that? Can you see it now?
Hold on 1 second.
Can see your
Nope, I
slide.
don't see anything.
Not you.
Okay.
Are you clicking on at the
There you
bottom?
go.
There's a present invite, and then you do share screen.
Down here, Nancy. I've got a helper here to help me see. What does that say?
Present.
Yeah, click on present.
Yep.
And under share screen's the very last one. The last one.
That
Right
one?
there. Mhm.
Okay.
And then there should be 3 in each. They show your entire screen.
What does it say here?
Screen sharing is easiest with 2 monitors. Screen sharing works best on a good computer.
Okay.
These are tips. I
Okay.
guess you just want to get rid of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just click just share screen. Click the blue button. Yep.
Let me try one more time here. How's that? Can you see it now?
No, I don't see anything.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that one that she was reading off, click that
Yeah.
blue button at the bottom. That's just share screen.
Okay, let's try again here.
It's the very bottom one.
That one?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there should be a blue bottom that says share screen. You click that again.
There.
Blue, you want to hit follow these steps that says blue?
It should say share.
Yeah, way at the bottom of it, it should have like a big blue box that says share screen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm in dark mode, so it is more
Oh,
difficult.
sure.
But let's see if that does it. Oh, okay. Now
And then
what does it say?
share your entire screen, which is the
Here we go. It says share now. Let's see. It is not.
Choose what to share. Do
Okay.
you want entire screen?
Yes.
Right there.
Okay. And then, let's see if share comes up as a choice. No. Entire screen. Oh, which one of these is the picture of the this picture? Which one
Yeah,
of
I think
these?
you go to entire screen if you just click on it.
I selected entire screen.
Yep, and then go to share at the bottom.
Also share
Audio.
audio. Okay. And then does this say share? No, it says cancel, right?
Yeah, share is right here.
Yeah. Share's not listed. I'm going to try that.
You
Share's not lighting up. I'm not
have to
sure.
click that box. You just click the box. So like underneath it, there's the entire screen. You have to click on that and then go to the bottom and click share. There should be like a big box that says entire screen.
Entire screen's up here at the top.
Yeah, so I'm over there. Let's see. Oh, what's the middle one?
Window.
Oh, maybe I should do window.
You can do
Okay.
window.
Okay, so, okay, yep, that popped up. Okay, yeah. All right, how's that?
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, there you go. You see okay?
Is that good?
Yep, that works. Well, first, Frank, yeah, before you start, do you want to do a quick introduction about yourself and the ward and then kind of get started?
Okay, I've got an about me slide in there, so
Okay, yep, that sounds
I think
good.
I can cover it then. Okay, so this is a talk about bivouac traps, or otherwise known as Russian scions, and it's for the American Beekeeping Federation, and I am Frank Linton, and it's June 12th. So this material was the winner of the American Beekeeping Federation's 2024 Bee Practical Award, and I started working on it after that. And basically what that means is it's work in progress. Okay? So just an outline of the talk. Over on the right, you actually see a photograph of a bivouac trap, basically a roof on a stick. That's really all there is to it. In terms of what I'm going to talk about, I'll do a little bit of background about myself and then talk about bivouac traps and why they are useful and everybody should have one in their apiary. The current work I've been doing, how you can make these yourself, and then a summary of the whole thing. So a little bit about me. I've been keeping bees for over 20 years. I got the EAS Master Beekeeper Award in 2011. I write articles for the bee magazines. I've got a couple of books out there. I've had posters at international bee meetings, and I have 3 different websites, one on observation hives, one on colony monitoring technology, and one on beekeeping with disabilities, because recently I became visually impaired, so I'm legally blind. I like to play with bee gadgets. That's usually what I enter in bee shows. And I like to play with words. So as you know, with bees, there's a lot of different feeders out there. There's hive top feeders and in-hive feeders and entrance board feeders and open feeders, and just about anything that holds liquid can be a feeder. And one day it occurred to me that there's a certain brand of gin that would make an excellent bee feeder. You can probably guess the brand. It's Beefeater. And so this is my Beefeater Beefeater. Okay? And the instructions for that are in one of the back issues of the American Bee Journal, along with how to make a drink using the gin called Bee's Knees. Okay. So about bivouacs. A bivouac site is the place where a swarm lands when it first comes out of the hive. It's a temporary landing site, and it comes from the military term bivouac, which means just a temporary stopping site, not a place where troops would actually stay for very long, right? So a bivouac trap then is a trap at the bivouac site, which is quite different from the swarm traps, which are designed to to attract swarms to a permanent home. But a bivouac trap is to catch swarms at their temporary site. And as you can easily imagine, this bivouac trap, whatever it is, needs to have two features. The first one is it needs to be irresistible to the colony that's swarming, right? Otherwise, nothing else is going to happen. And then after that, it needs to be easy to retrieve. However high up it is, or however it's placed, it needs to be easy to get that swarm down out of there. So those are the main features we're looking for. Okay. Here's another picture of a bivouac trap. Again, it's one I swiped off the internet. I hope it's a genuinely old picture, but I don't know that. And it's, as you can see, basically a roof on a stick. Okay. And why would you want one of these? It's because escaped swarms, once they're out of your apiary, they cause a number of problems. The first one is if you paid 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 bucks for that queen, who's gentle and a honey producer and a varroa resistant, she flies off. And that is a horrible thing to see. The second thing is with her go most of the foragers, and so you can forget about getting a honey crop from your hive at that point. The third thing is if you put your step ladder on the roof of your pickup truck and stand up there with a rake to try to shake the swarm down into a box, you can get really badly hurt. And that's far more common than it should be. Fourth thing is that in a suburban neighborhood where a lot of backyard beekeepers live these days, there aren't that many hollow trees, but there's a lot of hollow walls in your neighbors' houses. And the bees will take up residence there, and that will make those neighbors very unhappy after they've paid $1,000 or so to get rid of those bees, and they'll go to the city council, say, we don't want bees in our neighborhood. And finally, an unmanaged colony of bees can be a mite bomb. So those are the reasons that bivouac traps are a good thing to have. Okay. So how would you make one? Well, or how do you know where swarms go when they bivouac? It turns out there is no formal peer-reviewed research on this topic. Okay. But every beekeeper knows, every beekeeper with an apiary, that the swarms from that apiary tend to go to the same spot on the same tree year after year. So there must be a reason that the bees pick that spot, but exactly why is not known. My feeling is that this behavior, even though it hasn't been studied, is a significant one for the bees, because at that point they're quite vulnerable. They don't have that tree around them or the hive around them. They are full of food, but their food supply is running down. They're exposed to the weather. They're exposed to the predators. So making the decision to land in a particular place is an important one, but it just hasn't been studied. Here's what I've found by doing a couple of surveys. I surveyed the EAS master beekeepers, and then I surveyed about half a dozen local beekeeping clubs. And it turns out that while I get a range of responses, those responses tend to cluster quite nicely on certain values. So I'll skip the charts and the graphs and the standard deviations and all of that, and just give you the mean values here. So first of all, I said, what percentage of your swarms tend to bivouac on the same site repeatedly? And the average answer for that was 60%, which is a pretty high percentage. But it does mean that other sites are also acceptable. Okay, but then asking about that particular site, how far is it from the hive? And the answer averaged around 14 meters or 14 yards, you could say. And how high up was it? About 5 meters or 5 yards. So that was pretty interesting that they converged on these values. And what was it that they landed on? Almost always on the branch of a tree. And where on the branch? I then asked that question once I found out that that was a pretty common answer. And it's not on the trunk or near the trunk or out at the end of the branch, but it's near the outer end of the branch, specifically where the branch is 1 or 2 inches in diameter. And that point in the tree is lightly shaded and somewhat protected from a breeze. So now we know where the bees want to bivouac. So that's one of the things that I have found out. And I will show you in the next few slides how to make a trap that's easily retrievable. But what we still don't know is how to attract the bees to that very specific trap. I want to make the trap irresistible to swarms. I have not really succeeded in doing that. I did find one Russian beekeeper who was chewing out his fellow Russian beekeepers, saying, "Why do you say my traps don't work? They do work very well. You're not doing it right." So, and he said, what you need to do is make sure the trap has propolis on it, make sure it's got some sort of a scent like the Nasanov pheromone and the queen mandibular pheromone to make it all attractive to the bees. And then he says, place the trap to the west or southwest of the apiary. But in my surveys, I found that there was no consistent answer in terms of compass direction or in terms of wind direction. But that's what the Russians say is required to make the bees come to the traps. I will say that the first year I tried this, I got myself and 11 other beekeepers to make 22 bivouac traps. We put them up. We observed 44 swarms, and of those 44 swarms, not one landed on our first draft of the bivouac trap. So we have a ways to go here. Okay, where am I now in this work? I've done the surveys and that I've talked about. I've constructed and deployed a number of bivouac traps, and I'm still doing that. I've done several presentations to local bee clubs about how to make these things without making promises. As a result, I've had an article in the American Bee Journal based on 6 reports from 6 different beekeepers about how they do this. And I've had posters both at the most recent Appomondia and the most recent European Bee Conference on bivouac traps. And right now at the University of Montana, there is a master beekeeping course, which is in that master's course, the students have to do a research project of limited scope. And 3 of them have expressed interest in doing something with bivouac traps. So I'm working with them. And then, as in the picture here, the Federal Bee Lab in Beltsville, Maryland, had expressed interest in putting up some bivouac traps. So here you see a picture of Miguel Corona, one of the researchers there, in one of his apiaries that happens to be on the edge of a shed, a large shed. And so the arrow points to the bivouac trap hanging from the roof of the shed. Here are some screenshots from one of those Russian beekeepers, YouTube videos. On the top left, you see a bivouac trap, the generic roof on a stick, a short stick. On the top right, you see the bivouac trap in a tree with a swarm on it. So he's been successful. And in the lower left, you see the beekeeper has unhooked the swarm and the trap with a swarm on it from a branch and is carrying it over to a hive. And in the bottom right, you see he's just dumping the bees into the hive. So it's that simple. Okay? If you want to do it, you can find these videos of these Russian beekeepers. I recommend following the advice, if you look at YouTube videos, of the people who are successful, not the people who tell you how to make a trap, but haven't actually done it themselves, haven't actually successfully retrieved swarms themselves. Here's some more do-it-yourself advice here. This is a trap, one of the traps I make. This is made from the lid of a 5-gallon bucket cover and with a stick underneath it. And that's covered with cloth that's been soaked in beeswax and then painted with propolis. And it's got Swarm Commander and Queen Mandibular pheromone on it. And the easy way to put this up is to throw a rope over a branch and haul it up. And then when the bees land on it, you can lower it down, put the swarm into a bucket that's ventilated, of course, either with a hole with some screen on it or some ventilation holes drilled in it. Carry the bucket away from your apiary and start a hive at a new site. In the middle picture, you see the same trap on the end of a telescopic pole, and that pole is, that particular one will go up to 20 feet, which I got that in the paint department of a big box hardware store. The window washing department also sells these poles, but they don't go up that high, only about 12 feet. But so depending on where your swarms land, that's another way to do it. And then on the far right, you can see the trap up against a tree, maybe twice the height of the person there, and that's in place. It shows up nicely in that picture. Okay, so to remind you then about what I've said so far, these bivouac traps are traditional swarm catching devices. So they work in the traditional sense. They have 5 different benefits. They allow you to keep that valuable queen, increase your honey production by keeping the foragers around, avoiding injury, avoiding conflict with your neighbors, and avoid putting mite bombs out into your local environment. Okay. Swarm preferences are not really known other than those surveys that I have done, and those are not published yet beyond that, beyond what you see here. The effectiveness of the traditional traps is not known. I just can't get reports out of the Russians. The optimal design to attract swarms in terms of designing for placement and retrievability, I think I've got that down. But for attracting swarms, still don't know. And what that means is that you can experiment. So, and I will continue to experiment as well. Okay. So just to help you remember all of this, I made a limerick for you. There once was a bivouac site, though swarms rarely slept there at night. If you see one called a scion, it's supposed to keep your eye on, because it's there where your swarms will alight. So that's it, and thank you very much. Take questions, people have them.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a few questions, so I'll read those out to you.
Okay.
So first, why not a full swarm trap as a why not a full swarm trap?
Full swarm traps are just fine, but you have to put them up where the swarms will land, which is some distance from your apiary. This is not in place of swarm traps, but swarm traps tend to catch bees that aren't yours. If you put one near your apiary, it'll probably be somebody else's swarm that lands there. So the bivouac trap catches your swarms before they leave your apiary. Swarm traps catch bees, but they could be anybody's.
Okay, so what do you use to bait propolis, lemongrass, wax, etc.?
Yep. Yeah, all of those things. So the propolis and the beeswax help, and then lemongrass or Swarm Commander, and then Queen Mandibular pheromone are the things that seem to work. Not that I've had them work, but that's what the Russians say.
That's kind of follow-up question with Ski. She says, do you say that you haven't been very successful using Sense, Lemon, Oil, or Swarm Commander?
Mhm.
Yep.
Right. I haven't been successful with these traps yet. So I say it's a work in progress.
Yep.
I know where the bees go. I know how to get the swarm trap down, but how to get the bees into the trap is still work in progress.
Well, perfect. Do you have any additional questions for Frank? I don't see any, but I suppose, Frank, are you going to be coming to Texas in January?
I think I will. I'm not sure about if the North American Honeybee Expo competes with it, but I think this year I'll probably be coming to the American Beekeepers Federation
Awesome.
conference. Yeah.
Well, sounds good. We really appreciate it. And like I said, Frank, we'll have it on YouTube. So if you want to share with anybody or go back and watch other presentations, I'll send a link to you afterwards.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending our webinar. So I'm going to pull up the awards once again. But if you want to apply for this award, even if you don't think you have a chance of winning, I would just shoot your shot and apply regardless. So if you have any idea, any invention, whether it's simple or complicated, go to the website. If you go to, I want to say Practical Bee Award under programs, all the information should be here. I'm going to get this all updated today, but really everything on this is what we'd want. And we really try to make the application as simple as possible. Really just shoot me an email, send me pictures, your idea, or you can put it into a Word document that works well. We want to try to make it as simple as possible for you. And if you're not interested and you want to share it with somebody else, feel free to share your application with anybody in your beekeeping network. So, but yeah, I want to thank kind of Debbie for being here, and Aaron and Dan and Frank. Really appreciate all the work you guys put into this award, and hopefully we have some really great, fantastic awards for next year. Okay, thank you.